No, I was thinking about the opposite way. Because Frau had to witness her mother dying and everything like that, so it's to like the orphan kids from before that are like, it must be nice that she had to leave her dead mother behind, whereas Amuro is just walking away from his. It's gotta have some sort of psychological impact. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stone Face Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are here with another episode of, I was about to say Macross. We are here with another episode of Mobile Suit Gundam 1979 edition. First things first though, we have one comment to get to from the YouTube. Takafuji says from the episode Vote to Attack, "Hi, I am not sure if you guys know that all Japanese boys," so I'm capitalizing, including me, 40s, 50s, 60s, truly love Gundam. In 1980s, people often slap one's face, teacher, mom, friends, but now it is quite a rare thing. I enjoyed reactions. Thank you.
So basically we're saying corporal punishing is more relevant back in the day.
They said friends. Just often slap one's face. Well, actually, when you say slap one's face, that's me slapping my face.
So translation.
But yeah, no. The fact they said friends. We often slapped one's faces. Mom, children, friends. Okay. Fair. I grew up in the 80s. Well, I was getting slapped too. Alright, well, how about you go ahead and tell us about what happened last time?
Last time was the threat of Sion.
The best speech in the game.
While the Principality of Sion holds a magnificent state funeral for Garma, with a giant picture that was even bigger than the one in his own room, which is much taller than a single person, from the ground up.
Pictures that could kill people. Should have sent them to war.
Yeah, you could use that as a shield for a Gundam. Hell, they might put it as shields for the Sakus. Gristle veteran Ramba Rao vows to eliminate the white base and descends upon it with Zanzibar mobile cruiser.
We're back to the wiki.
Yeah, well, this is Crunchyroll. Ramba Rao doesn't vow to do so. He has a discussion with his girlfriend and says, well, you wouldn't like me if I just didn't try at least. It's just like, okay, I like you when you try. And he tried. Fails, but he tried. But is unable to take the pursuit of the Zanzibar and forces the battle-weary Amuro. I was saying Amuro for some reason.
Oh, sorry, what was that word you just said?
Zanzibar?
Zanzibar, like the country.
Yeah. I know that's not the name of the mobile suit. I don't know why they say Zanzibar.
Oh, okay. I didn't have any context from around it. I just heard you said the word Zanzibar. I'm like, what? Yeah, isn't that a goof? Isn't mobile suits a goof, isn't it?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a goof. Because it's a competing.
It's not supposed to be a goof. I'm just hoping it's a goof.
No. There's actually an MB07B goof.
No, I know. It's GOUF. I know it because of the joke that I think I sent it to you and then I deleted it because I realized it had like spoilers in it. Which is weird considering you're the one who's seen most stuff, so I'm hiding spoilers from you. Anyway, the Goof Troop theme song over a bunch of him doing stuff in his goof. I just like it because they use every time it's the singer going, yeah, they have just a shot of Ramba, just like, yeah. It's great. Look up the video.
It's an MS-07B goof, not a Zanzibar mobile cruiser.
No, that might be, that's the cruiser. It's the cruiser.
Oh, the ship. Yeah, they're talking about that. Yeah,
sorry,
but he gets
we don't
off
have a lot
ship.
of that in this show, but over in the Seed, which you'll get accustomed to once you've seen the board, we've kept track of all those the cruisers and whatnot. So,
yes, Zanzibar glass cruiser. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah. I just heard the country name. I just got thrown.
Yeah. Okay, let's recap because what's really is happening as the white base is trying to, as always, trying to reach friendly lines. The Zanzibar mobile cruiser with Ramba Rao on it is descending, entering the atmosphere. They detect the white base and decides to give chase and engage it. That leaves the
white base specifically says that it can't evade them because they're going so fast because they're using the re-entry speed.
Yeah, that and a pair of re-entry shuttles, as they call them. So that forces the white base to go to ground near an island, literally go aground, like just go on the beach, which then lets Rumble Rao get on his goof, MS-07B goof, which is not a Saku. It's a mobile. It's a all Sakus are Xeon mobile suits, but not all Xeon mobile suits are Sakus. This is a goof who gets down there and engages with two allies, three of them actually, engages with with Amuro and the Gundam, and he has a special weapon that's like a whip that when it hits, it electrifies where it hits, and that catches Amuro off guard. But Rumble Rao has enough brains to realize that when they deploy the other two mobile suits, the gun tank and the gun cannon, decides, well, you know what? Let's pull back. And they do, and they make good their escape.
Well, I mean, not for nothing. It's because most of the people that Ramba is with are people that we've already met before. I don't just mean Haemon either. Yeah, Clamp and sorry, I'm not even looking at the board. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. Clamp and it's
a gene troop.
It's not. No, I mean it's Kukuro. It's not Kukuro. Cucuruz. The guy who said at the bar that he wanted to enlist with him, and then he went and got himself demoted. So he was saddened about that. I guess when there was somebody else. My thing is that it comes to my head. It's Clamp because Griffin thought I was making some sort of joke when he saw the board. Well, so he's like, "Who's with Ramba's group?" And I was like, "It's right there. Do you not see it?" And he was like, "Well, no." It's like, "Oh, that's right. The bartender is with them." So that's how Clamp stays in my head. The incredulity that the bartender used to be part of the Xeon military and then rejoined the Xeon military.
I guess so.
Or actually, technically, he would have been part of the Munzer Defense Forces and then joined the Xeon military.
Yeah.
That's the recap?
That's a recap.
All right. Well, I guess next up, let's head on over to the board.
Yeah.
That's more like, yeah. Not a lot added. Again, next time you see the board, I think it's probably going to be mostly like the board I'm being covering right now. I know I added Job John. Because the confusion here is we see him on like a monitor. But back in the day when I was taking all of these from like behind the voice actors and everything like that, the Gundam wiki says we actually see him back at Escape from Luna 2. And I do not remember it, and I didn't remember it back then either. I guess maybe there was somebody with like crazy blonde hair that we just see the back of their head. Kind of like how the thing claims that we see Max in episode 1 of SDF Macross. And I'm like, yeah, there's a guy with weird colored hair back to us. Maybe that's him.
What job did Job do in the white base? Engineer, right?
Yeah. Because he's on the screen.
I'm not going to repeat that, by the way.
Well, I mean, couldn't because you didn't write it down first. It's like when you tell like an elaborate lie, and I say, "Okay, could you repeat it from the beginning, though?" And you're like, "Fuck." Let's see. No, not much else changed. Arcus. I don't remember if Arcus died before now, or this was. Yeah, he must have died recently. Don't know if Bobson's dead. He may have been on the GAW. He may have been back at home base. It's hard to tell. And, of course, don't know what happened to Big John. Big John just wandered off.
No.
It's just the predilection to the Xeon soldiers to die. Just like, if they're not on screen every so often, question mark.
Yep.
Lieutenant Doruta is dead. He's the one who was actually on the GAW. Islena is, of course, dead.
Yeah.
I think that's about it.
Not a lot of people died. Well, a lot of people died, but didn't have names. So there were 3 ships in that attack when Islena was doing the thing. Well,
yeah, I would be very screwed if I just started taking like screenshots of every destroyed Zaku.
Yeah.
It's like a whole
or
subcategory.
recon ship or goop fighters. Sounds like something Hollywood would try to sell me.
No, Nickelodeon.
Goop.
Yeah,
No, I was thinking
Gak, Goop, Slime.
I was thinking about an actress who literally made a book about. Well, never mind. I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah, that was called Goop, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And candles scented out her vagina. As you know, when I think Great Spence. To be fair, if I did think Great Spence and I thought that, kudos. That's some good hygiene.
Yeah. And what's with everything that Xeon has elevated cockpits for some reason? Like they have like ostriches. I call it ostriches necks. The Goops have the thing above the body of the fighter. The reconnaissance fighters, the reconnaissance planes also have this elevated thing. The tanks literally have a fighter on top of it, which also has an elevated neck.
Well,
that seems to be
I've said that the tank thing is probably about transportation. Easier to transport them if they're connected together. And you have just like one spot you can put all your tanks in.
Yeah. No, but I mean the actual tanks have the fighter on top of them.
Yeah, I know.
And then the fighter
I said it's fucking stupid. I just mean that it's easier. It's probably made for transportation. Because if you can save space on transportation, you could build your spaceships more efficiently. Less material used on your spaceship for extra storage space.
Yeah, but they're doubling also on making fighters because they have their own fighters, which are the Goops.
I assume those are just Goops as well.
No, because they have this big 150 millimeter cannon, I think they have. So, yeah. Which, if
that's
you think about it,
change in armament.
Yeah, but that gun should shoot. If they were flying, that gun fires and they should fly back and just crash. Only, or less being top nose heavy, they couldn't.
I think that falls into our discussion about what they're using as propulsion.
Yeah.
You know, the same way it looks like they're using air jets to land what has to be a multi-ton fighting humanoid machine. Yeah. So clearly must be something else. So if that's the case, must be some sort of advanced technology we just don't know. Maybe they're using ion thrusters. Something powerful enough to propel you at high speeds through space. Must be surely enough to counteract the
Magella attack, which is a tank from the 1 year war. Yeah.
Yeah, but what's the name of the fighter that's attached to it?
It doesn't say. I think it's a 175 millimeter cannon. That's like a heavy artillery gun in today's world. Like that's like heavy artillery.
Sure.
That's about 8-inch or 9-inch in naval guns. Yeah.
I don't know. My problem is that I actually did a whole breakdown on the armaments of the Zaku back in Origin, comparing it also to the seed weaponry at the time. But obviously, when we did this whole rewatching thing, I obviously wasn't going to start talking about seed here when you haven't seen seed. Yeah. So I just kind of erased my whole comparison because I was doing I did a measurement of how many rounds the modern tank could fire in, say, a minute versus how many rounds the tank equivalent rounds of the gun that was being shown to us in the test footage of the Zaku could fire by equivalency, and how much. I did a whole thing about armor. I did a whole thing. It was my bibliography section of the thing, but I didn't put it down because, again, we don't have that here. The DOP? Is that what you were saying before?
The DOP, yeah.
Yeah, because they don't mention...
Where did I get the goop? I don't know why I got... It's a DOP, I don't know. Goop?
Yeah, it's on the side of the screen. Others, like you also viewed, the DOP, the Type 61 tank, the Kwai. My problem is that I was doing the whole, what's the best mobile weapon in all of Gundam poll So I've looked at
There's
every
also
goddamn
there's
thing.
also a character who's named Gop, but has 2 P's.
Yeah, no, he's on the board.
Yeah.
Look in the upper right-hand section. He's Gop.
Yeah.
I made fun of him because he's a fucking jackass. I think he is the one of the lead designers of this never-ending war. He's the one who says, he's the one that makes the comment about okay, don't do colony drops, nukes, or biological weapons. Just keep the war clean. He's up there with Rebel for me. I cannot believe the description of this tank doesn't say anything about DOP or fighter craft or anything.
I don't think it's the same. It's not. They look similar, but they're not there.
I mean, there's line art of the top. So
yeah, but it is not. It's just part of the tank.
Well, except that there's literally a picture down in the anime. Magella attack. Magella top detached from tank base. They can.
Yeah, but it's not considered a different craft. Just considered part of it.
I think when you split, you're a different craft. The saucer section is called the saucer section. It's not called the Enterprise top. You know? You give it a different name. You don't say Magella top.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's stupid.
I never said it was short.
No,
Smart.
I'm just going down in my long list of stuff that I say this is stupid about that gets a hate comment somewhere. All right, well, Theta's thoughts. I think one of the saddest forms of media is the unknown epic. My best example of this, and fails to you because you didn't watch Star Trek Voyager, apparently. Star Trek Voyager episode Course Oblivion, which follows a copy of the crew of Voyager, where good things have happened to them, and they're celebrating, and suddenly deaths start happening. I read down for unknown reasons, but we all know what happens. These people forgot they were clones and needed a certain environment to survive in the long term, and are dying without it. Everyone dies. The ship itself was a clone, and itself falls apart. The last thing they do is launch a beacon with the recordings of all their lives from after the moment they were cloned, and it falls apart just as the real Voyager stumbles across its location, never knowing the other crew even existed, let alone the stories of their lives. That is what I feel when Amuro wanders. Sorry, this transcript is fucking horrible. By the way, I said Course Oblivion. My transcript says Chorus Oblivion. Different show. That's what I feel when Amuro wonders who Iselina was. Her entire story, its peaks and valleys, her love and sadness, all ending with her single act of revenge on someone that would never know her story or understand it.
And a shallow grave in the middle of a desert.
I mean, you keep bringing that up. For me, that was least important because I'm of the camp of who the fuck cares what happens to your body after you're dead. You no longer have any investment in it. For me, it's more, again, it's the unknown epic. If you follow a story about a guy who's like lost his family in the desert and goes on this long thing to make revenge on the people that killed it, and he wanders into town, and the first thing that he does is fall over dead, and the story is then picked up by the people of the town who have to figure out what happened, but they'll never know who this guy was, his troubles, his foibles, his everything. Mm-hmm. Everything that we cared about that got us emotionally invested in this guy goes when he dies. Because there's nothing connecting him to anything anymore. That's Iselina. Nothing about her that made us care. I don't know if you cared, I cared. About her carries on. Her story ends with a confused kid wondering what the fuck was this about. Which is, again, it's the saddest thing to me.
I mean, I wish they as improbable as it was, because it would be a happy ending in a series that doesn't give us many happy endings, or if any, really. There's a few.
Don't have to justify it to me. Just let everybody. All you do is let the audience know, hey, I know things. That's it. You don't have to justify.
I wish that she would have left with Garma, right? Knowing what we know from Origins, right?
Well, again, the thing is, the conversation we had last time we recorded was that you were insisting that Char would not let that go.
Yeah, no, Chikara would not let go.
Which means that you'd kill him at a happier moment in his life, which, is that worse? Char, I have kids. I don't care. Or, my mother did too. Something.
Yeah. I had a life. Boom. That was Sicario, like that scene in Sicario, which
actually a movie I haven't seen.
Yeah, you should. It's
that's
it's a good movie.
Right?
No.
Is that not the one where he's the film producer who's sneaking stuff in and out of a war zone?
No, that's different. Sicario is Benito del Toro doing the whole drug war thing in Mexico. Yeah.
This very much sounds like...
It's a DEA agent that goes rogue, basically. Sicario.
Oh, I'm thinking of Argo.
Argo is the one that is in Iran, the hostage crisis and all that.
Oh, stupidly, I looked up Ben Affleck War Reporter movie, and obviously the first movie that comes up is Reporter. So, no, that's not it.
That's pretty much on the nose, yeah.
Thank you, Google. You really are into that buck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically the origin equivalent of Fang Li and Yuki. There's a story being told there, but we come on right at the end of it, right before everyone dies, just to see them die. And it's really sad, but at the same time, we kind of didn't get any build-up. We don't know what their lives were like. Just the fact that they're in love, and then they die. Alright, next thought. I think Garma's death has just reinforced the concept board's present connections of the Zabi family. Kycelia and Dozel are out there in the midst of things, while Degwin and Giran are back in the capital running things. We know Kycelia and Giran are making plans behind everyone's backs, even each other's, but Dozel and Degwin are very honest with themselves. Dozel is saying that he wanted Garma to become a general that would command him someday. Mirrors his response to Garma surviving the Dawn Rebellion and the talk that they had about Garma wanting to earn his position outside of nepotism. I'm not going to go into my darker theories about Degwin, but he clearly is the most hurt by Garma's death and is the mirror to Giran, even back at the war's start. Degwin wanted peace and an end to the bloodshed, and so too here, he just wants a moment's peace to mourn the loss of his son, whereas Giran, who pushed for a war that wouldn't end until they were ready for it to be, is using the death as a way to rally the masses into a frenzy. Sorry, sometimes it really looks like you're thinking about things and are about to talk, and other times it's like, I can't tell if you're just like frustrated at the long pause.
No.
There's nothing to say. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Sometimes, even Justin sometimes just gives me true or right. Something.
Yeah, I got that from my dad. He would do that too.
I talk to my dad once a year, so I don't get that at all, unless you consider the long pauses, the 364-day pauses, to be that.
Well, I won't be talking to my dad any longer, so yeah, that happens too.
This has been the depressing moment of the reaction.
Yeah.
That's alright, I just literally commented earlier to Justin that my dad texted me for the one time this year to tell me that another family member was dead, so it's like, been a good day for reactions.
Yeah. It's one of those days. The ends in Y.
If only there was a day that didn't end in Y. The Y day. Nope, that ends with a Y.
Or it starts with one. It starts with one.
Starts with one, that also ends with a Y, then also ends with the word day.
Yeah.
When Iselina says the least she can do is exact revenge for Garma's death, she's essentially mirroring the sentiment of Giran's speech an episode before it arrives. She's taking her sorrow from that episode's start and turning it into anger.
Which is interesting because she originally said she didn't care for which side of the war. She wasn't interested in the who's winning, who's losing.
I'd
Even though
argue she still
taken-
doesn't care.
Yeah, but she cares enough by way of Garma's death to go and essentially choose the side. I mean, even if it's only
it's
temporary.
revenge. She wants to kill the killer of Garma, which again, she's targeting the wrong person, but because even if she was targeting, like, she would target Bright, if anybody, right? Because even if you didn't blame Char for the misdirection, it's literally the white base that takes out, like, Amuro's off on the side, like, fighting Zaku's when this is going down.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, she's not like, fucking Earth Federation. She's like, that guy, right there. You don't get out of your, on your deathbed, you don't get out of the seat to aim a gun at a kid unless he's the kid. Which, again, still, bad intelligence. Who said the Gundam did it?
Well, at least the Gundam represents. But I think the Gundam represents the whole of the Federation in a way, right? It's the Federation mobile suit, right?
That just sounds like
colors.
FAF to me is what that is. The Gundam, you're doing an art picture analyzation, right? You see the brushstrokes really, they really represent the frustration that the artist was feeling with society as a whole. He was feeling oppressed. That's why he did this picture of a daisy field. But you could really tell by the strokes. No, I'm pretty sure she was like, those are the guys that killed my boyfriend. Gonna kill.
Yeah.
Like, not everything has depth to it. I mean, obviously, this show has depth to it by process of it being representational. It is the thing you were saying itself, but I feel like she's not in that. She's not like staring at that's a rather large picture of Garma and thinking, I wonder what that represents. Garma may have had a tiny penis.
I don't know how well she knew him.
Well, you know, like
that kind of detail.
You know, like people with really expensive cars in the midlife. They're like, oh, he's compensating for something.
And for something, yeah.
How big of a picture do you need till you're like, well, if I keep magnifying, that thing will keep getting bigger. One of these days, they'll stop drawing busts of me. I'm just, in my point of view, obviously, you could be right. You probably are to somebody, but to me, it's just flat out revenge, and for some reason, Amuro is the main character of the show, so obviously go after Amuro. Also, she was, like, on her deathbed, so I think I mentioned it before that I thought she slipped. I think you said that during the episode. Did she slip? And it's heavily implied that she actually...
And then she pointed up, fires it, and then she falls. It could be she was wounded.
I don't remember her aiming to she doesn't pull a point break. She, like, aims it and then just dies, is what happens. She never fires.
I think she does. Go back and see.
Okay, I'll buy you some time by talking about nonsense. In my memory, look, I've watched it 3 or 4 times now recently, but in my memory, I don't remember a gunshot. At the very least, I don't remember her consciously pointing up. She points to Amuro with the gun, and then, woo, free fall. She's Mary Jane in it. Last Dance, if you will, if you're a fan of Tom Petty. But, yeah. 100%. I would say 99%, because no one's 100% sure of anything. She does not point break it. She doesn't, I'm so angry, but I can't shoot a kid. Because that implies conscious thought in her last moments. By the way, interrupt me whenever you figure this out. I am just rambling at this point. Because I've said she didn't do something 5 times in a row now. Because literally, she is in that moment. If she was going to kill somebody, she would have done it. And I think at the point where you're going to ram a thing and sacrifice your life.
Well, what happens is she kind of seems to lose consciousness. And as she's going down, she fires the gun. So she could really be that she was wounded and she was dying, right?
Well, that's what I was getting to before we got into this argument. Not argument, even. Yeah. This little debate here. Is that it is implied that she is dying.
Yeah.
She doesn't just slip off. Which it looked like to me, and you commented during the thing, did she just slip? It looks like she just fucking slips and then dies on impact. But the idea is that she died from the crash.
She was dying.
Whatever occurred to her during the crash, maybe it was just like force damage, right? I don't mean that in the D&D term. I mean that like they describe. I can't think of the terms right. Like when a grenade goes off, concussion damage, maybe like concussive force.
Damage,
yeah.
Impact force, internal bleeding, that sort of thing.
A lot of different words for it. Yeah, but she just succumbed in that moment. Like Will forced her way out. I'm gonna kill this guy. That's all I got.
Yeah. Ran out of juice. Ran out of hit points right there.
Unfortunate. Amuro could use a little bit more lead in his diet. I guess it is worth noting that according to the communication they got, there is a Sorry, my throat is choking up. I have run out of water already, so I am just choking it through here. That's right, clip that for later. There is a liaison conference happening at the Federation General HQ, and it is deadlocked, which is why White Base hasn't been getting any reinforcements. There's something for us to put a pin in to see if we hear anything about that later to know what it is about or concerning. Obviously, you know, I do not. And that was also what I thought the first time around, that this might be something. My problem... Okay, I'm going to say this out here now. My problem is that I know Gundam Seed is like a remake of OG Gundam, just with a different story and things, but things kind of happen. Like, the characters aren't the same. Like, I think there's like 2 to 3 different Char clones, I would say, in Gundam Seed. The thing I've said multiple times is I feel like they took the character traits of a bunch of the the OG, the original character, the OG Gundam characters, like cut them up into slips of paper and put them in a hat. And like, okay, we need like 3 slips for this character. So you've got characters with like the background mythos of Char, but then you have other characters like that wear a face mask and like will say the shit that Char will say. So in that respect, though, sorry, go ahead.
The character remix, right?
Sort of.
They take the elements instead of like, oh, put it in a blender. Go like, okay, you have this, you have this, you have this, but you have this other thing that's, you know.
Well, you'll see next week. But the thing is that I kind of expect things to happen now because this week me and Justin will finish off season 1, and then next week you and me will go through the compilation movies to catch you up in the fastest way possible. Because otherwise there's 50 episodes a season. So 3 movies is the fastest way we can do this. Stuff happens there, and I'm gonna have to think maybe it happens here. So when they say this, obviously when I wrote this, didn't know that. I think we were like 10 episodes into Seed at the time. Now that I'm near the end of Seed, kind of think I might know what it is. So, but it's still guessworthy. I don't have spoilers. I just have what's 1 for 1 here, or what can I clip into like a bunch of pieces of paper and then put into a hat and say this is going to happen soon. I appreciate in episode 11, we saw a GAW go down below the clouds and then bright explosions to let us know that it hits the ground. Then White Base gets hit, starts going down below the clouds as Amuro watches on, and cut to mid-episode roll for commercials. Perfect dramatic timing. Because, they're implying that White Base is about to explode in a white giant fireball, as the GAW did, as we just saw.
Mm-hmm.
But you imagine you're watching this on TV and you got like a commercial break. That's literally, like watching somebody get hit by a bullet and then commercial break, and then they come back like, oh, thank God my armor stopped, something.
And probably the commercial break is selling you toys, Gundam toys. It's like, buy the Amuro White Base with Fra and Bright and whatever.
I don't think there ever was. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to watch something like, I don't know, Secret Galaxy if I wanted to know information like that.
I mean, the whole mega TV show to sell
No,
toys,
I understand. I understand the marketing point. I'm talking like, how G.I. Joe had the, what is it, like the air carrier thing that was like a real special get. I don't know if Gundam and Japanese toys had that sort of thing with like a white base model? Or did they have like a sort of like, not Mad Max, Mighty Max? Mighty Max's little pocket things versions? Look, man, I can only buy so much time. I've rambled at a long pace this time. The ability that I have to talk while you look it up, you're going to have to, like, really start refining your Google foo if this is going to become a thing. I'm good at improv, but not that good. By the way, right now, I'm just improving how bad at improv I am, which might be a thing. I don't know. That's like planning to improvise. Some people have an argument against it. I've actually got comments that say it's a thing, and they can't believe that other people would have a problem with that. I'm telling you, just interrupt me when you've got an answer already.
It's already there. Yeah, there were toys in 1979.
I know there was... Okay, White Boys Toys specifically, by Clover Toys. Obviously, I can't click the link, because it'll automatically switch what we're looking at. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Char seems to think that taking the blame for Garma's death and attacking White Base is some sort of win-win no matter what happens, which I don't follow at all. Either way, Degwin being the more level-headed zombie only says for him to be demoted, so I imagine it could have ended up worse. I guess if anything, he's always hanging around with Dren, who he promoted when he got command of the ship, and has basically been the person he's entrusted the most loyalty to this entire time. When Char says to do something, Dren does it happily. I can only imagine there's a partnership that will only end when Dren dies someday.
I think what he's doing is taking responsibility, and it's like my bad, like, oh, if I only been there, which deflects attention from the fact that he made that deliberately set up. Remember, he sent a message to Garma saying, oh, they're not here, go in this direction. And it turns out that direction they go puts them right on the sides of White Base.
Literally everyone that would know anything is dead. All the Zaku's that went with him, dead. Everybody in the Gauls, dead. Every Gaul that went, dead. There's no witnesses to, like...
I mean, I don't know if the radio communications get recorded, though. If they
but at the same time, taking blame, because you're the only survivor, doesn't, like, get rid of any existing information that you think might be out there. If he's worried that some survivor may have escaped with, like, blackmail information, the whole taking blame and all that shit doesn't absolve him of any of that.
It doesn't absolve him, but it's sort of... How can I put
it doesn't even handle any of that situation, is what I'm saying.
I think it makes it easier to just overlook what happened, right? Unless they really, really want to find out what happened, right?
I think they would, though. I think they are really incentivized to figure out how Garma died.
They don't seem to go into a deep... Degwin's like, yeah, whatever, demote him, right?
No, Degwin's just... all the conversation I've said before about Degwin just wants a moment's peace to try and deal with his son's death. Degwin's certainly not like, whatever. That's certainly not the...
He's in pain, but he's not worried about how it happened. He just wants to deal with what happened, right? With the fact that his son is dead. He wants that moment of peace and stuff like that. The finer details of how he died are, at that moment, less important than the fact that his son is dead. Right? The pain that he's suffering at the moment, right? So he's waving off that. I was like, yeah, okay. We'll deal with that later. Demote him, do something with, I don't want to think about that. I want to think the fact that my son is dead, and I want to, deal with it, with that. That's how I interpret it. So.
All right. I'm glad we also got to see Bright not just recognizing that he's snapping at people, but also realizing that he needs a moment just like everyone else does. Unlike Amuro, who fills his moments between fighting with busy work to occupy his mind and body, or just sulking, Bright tries to close his eyes and relax. Also nice to see that Mai is there to comfort him. Sorry, I think that... her name is Mirai, isn't it?
Yeah, Mirai.
Yeah, man, my thing here doesn't know how to do names. Can't tell you how many times I say zombie and the thing transcribes it to zombie. They're to comfort him, not quite in the same way that Fra does for Amuro, but that she's there and recognizes the burden he has being in command.
Yep.
Thanks, Justin.
I mean,
I know, I asked for it, so at least I got back. It's following on the joke now, that's all. I thought you'd have more to say about your boy Bright, that's all.
No, I think he was... well, there was a moment there where it seemed to be a very intimate moment between the two of them. Like, they're speaking like equals, more likely, right? She's also one of the olders. She's older than the rest, right?
You're saying right like I think that.
Huh?
I would think Sayla is older than Mirai.
I think they're about the same age. Actually, no, I think Sayla's younger.
We saw them in Origin, so already going to start a debate in the comments about what that means. But we saw them, and, well, to be fair, one standing on the ground looking up the window at the other, so it's hard to tell anything from that. But we've seen them together as kids. Not together, but we've seen them in the same area as kids.
I think her father said, father made a comment about Sayla saying, she's about my daughter's age. At one moment, I think the closest that we get to it.
Well, we've already had this whole thing where I said, I don't think that happened that way, and then you took 5 minutes to look it up, and then turns out I was wrong. But I'm going to say, I don't think that happened.
I'm not, to be fair, I'm not really sure if that actually happened.
What I remember happening is Mirai looks up at the window and says, I think I see the kids up there. And then I don't remember him saying anything. He may have said something to her, and maybe it's what you're thinking, but I don't think that was the thing. Because they just turn around and walk away after that. It might have been like, don't look there, or something.
And don't they actually meet with what's his name? Don, what's his name?
Carnage?
No, not Don Carnage. The adopted father of
Don Teblo?
Teblo, yeah.
Because that's when he tells them to move to Texas. They meet him, though, not them. They're hiding upstairs in the room by themselves.
Yeah.
He meets Teblo when he's, like, bedridden.
And he offers him...
Well, he suggests that they go to Texas, and he's like, isn't that right next to Munzo? And he's like, yeah. Their concern is that you're operating against them, and if you move a lot closer to them, they'll be right under their eyesight, and they won't act against you so long as you don't do anything against them. Again, that might not be the word, so that's the implication that I read. And the implication is what sticks up here, not so much the words. So remember that for anything you ever tell me.
Yeah.
So Kycelia asks what happened with Char, and when they tell her that he's probably gone home, which I can only guess means Texas, and cool, since we know and cool, since everyone we know is from there is dead. Sorry, fucking transcriber. Everyone we know from there is dead, is what I'm trying to say. She calls over a subordinate, whispers to him, then some guy shows up to whisper to Char at the end of the episode as well. Probably not unconnected, but also makes me wonder if she knows his real identity. Tachi works for her, kind of. After all, and he knows, or at least highly suspects, so I have to wonder what her plan is here. Yep, got to the end of that and realized it's something you can't say anything. Unless you want to debate who Tachi works for.
Well, I do remember that she said that to Sayla.
Sayla that her brother is alive.
Yeah, he says, I suspect that the man who was your brother is alive.
Right.
But I can't prove that, and I will not say it to anyone else.
And he works for Zeon Intelligence, which is run by Kycelia. And we don't know where the fuck he gets that information from that he thinks that he's alive, but it might be from the intelligence network, in which case it's something that Kycelia knows and that he is just leaking to Sayla.
Or something he figured out on his own.
Right, because I look at Tachi and think that's the guy, that's the Bourne guy, that is the Sherlock Holmes of the intelligence community. Or, sorry, oh god, I can't remember Sherlock Holmes' brother's name.
You're giving Tachi, I mean, he is...
You remember the guy who's like, hey, look over here, that's a cat! Or the cat obviously meowing inside of a box. No, it's not this thing. Yeah, that guy. The guy who hangs out in a bar all the time to stare at
it was
him
part
on?
of his plan. Part of his plan to put the kids in the box, and that kind of helped. Yeah,
No, he was just the guy working inspection. It was Ramba's plan to put them in the box, I want to say.
No, it was her plan. Girlfriend.
Hamon.
Yeah.
It was one of them. Either way, it wasn't Tachi. Tachi was just the inspector on the line who had to convince the two other guys present not to scan the box with a, "You don't believe me?" or "I heard a cat, must be over here" angle. Which, by the way, as I brought up many times of how Ramba and Hamon got away from Caecilia, who was there, and says, "Oh, we could just have all these boxes re-inspected if that's what we want to do." The fact that if she knew Ramba and Hamon were part of this, she probably knew Tachi was a part of it. I'm thinking all of this is to Caecilia's plan.
Or it could be that that's where Caecilia recruits Tachi.
Right. To the same point that Ramba didn't spend the rest of his life in prison, but just got out to serve under Zeon military again, that they sold out something about themselves in order to be able to continue going. Which is my point, that Tachi is just working within the intelligence community. He's not... I wish I could remember his brother's name. I know Sherlock Holmes' brother's name. I just can't think of it.
Mycroft?
Mycroft, that's right. Mycroft Holmes, who actually works with the British intelligence community, which is why I was trying to make that leap in my head the entire time. Yeah, I'm not... If Tachi turns out to be a super genius, he'd have to be able to hide it behind the outward persona he's putting out there. He's the world's greatest spy who's been doing it since apparently before he joined the military. Look, you've given no illusions that Tachi's your favorite character. I don't need you to jump to his defense. Also kind of funny that Fra thinks the lightning is a new Zeon weapon, and that a bunch of Zeon soldiers think the lightning is a new Federation weapon. Despite being the future, I guess space kids don't get educated about weather.
Yeah. Don't sweat about the details, you don't have to know in space. Are you going to see lightning in space? No.
Well, if you do, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Alright, last thought here. Clearly, Ramba and Hamon have had some development in the past 8 months. Not only bringing them physically closer as a couple, but to where they seemed almost against the fighting before. They seemed against the fighting before, but now they talk about Ramba's place being on the battlefield. The war has clearly affected some of our characters towards the nationalistic tint.
Yeah. I mean, I think Rambaral was always a nationalist. He just doesn't like the Sabis because they're the rival family. I think he imagined that his family should be the one running at things, but it didn't turn out that way.
I don't know. I've already painted the picture that the history of this century would have been better without Jimba.
Really? It really would have been Ramba running things because Jimba was just a loudmouth that.
Well, no. I mean, how I blame Char's personality, or at least vengeful streak, on Jimba's.
Yeah.
Basically, propaganda teaching. Because when we go to them at Tiblo's mansion in Spain,
he's the.
Let me remind you daily about how Degwin killed your dad. So. Plus all the other shit that he did that caused everything. His talking to, I think, Anaheim, yeah. Causes the zombies to take an eye on him again, which causes the assault, which then inspires... There's the argument that can be said that Casfall's whole thing starts way earlier in episode 1. When he's riding the tank and we see the flashbacks of him pulling the trigger in the gun tank, but I feel like that was just momentary, and everything else gets set into motion because of Jimba.
He could have recovered from that, but...
he could have done better as a protector. Like, if Jimbo had done better when he had them all in his mansion before Caecilia shows up, or, not been fucking asleep when Caecilia showed up. Jimbo in the picture. Jimbo's just going to be this weird X character by the end of this whole thing, where I'm going to be like, that guy. And I'm going to be like, what? We're like 200-300 years in the future. Why are you still blaming Jimbo? If I point in the wrong direction, the board is actually down here. Jimbo! Anyway, that was my final thought. You got anything else you want to add before we get into this? Alright, well, I guess go ahead and get into it.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
Unfiltered.
Uncensored.
And uncut.
as well as some early access stuff,
You can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
I mean, preferably, it doesn't freeze at all. Which is a comment that makes no sense here in the opening of the show. To the unrecorded bit that isn't going to go out there. Encodergasm.
Okay, that's...
Just realizing that I didn't have the show up yet. I'll have to fix that in post. Still had the board up. Well, you remember what was on the next time on?
I don't.
You remember what this episode's called?
Yeah, going home.
I thought it was Coming Home.
Coming home.
Was he holding his shield upside down in the opening?
I don't know, because the shield's supposed to have like 2 holes in the top. So that's how you know it's top or
To be
bottom.
fair, yeah, that's right. Learned that from Gundam Evolution. The general model was, I think, my second, probably, actually, no, I think it was my first favorite to play. Because it could do everything.
There's a new game, video game on Steam. It's a gunplay game where you assemble your Gundams and then send them to fight. I'm going to check it out.
I have talked about it in a, ironically, different Discord. Only specifically because there was something in the trailer for it that I was like, this is overpowered. How are they going to have this? It's probably something from Gundam 00.
The satellite gun?
No, Gundam 00 uses solar particles or something. Which, in a fight, if you say who would win between this Gundam and another Gundam, any Gundam from 00 is going to always win. You can't get through shield. They've got like infinite shields and weapons that just cut through anything. Because it's supposed to be like the most high-tech Gundam series.
There's the goof.
It's also the only Gundam series with aliens. But those are only in the movie. It's the beach episode. Remember that one defining characteristic of that kid?
Yeah. It's weird because you used to live in Spain, but sure.
Well, remember, she's not going to tell anybody any of that shit. Went to see his mother. By the way, this is a weird umbrella setup. Really important shit we're getting about Amuro's backstory. But they're not just planting the umbrella in the sand. Leaning it on that thing. It's very weird. Based on what? Who's that guy even talking to? Bring us some booze. God forbid you were at work or something, right? Your protectors, everybody.
You don't have good officers, the men will probably do that.
Well, I have to think the officer's the guy who apologized for marching into your house while everyone else is making fun of your dead mom.
I said good officers. He probably not a good one.
サイドの建設を見てごらん。そら素晴らしいもんだよ。アムロに見せておきたいんだ。
それはわかりますが、でも私はごめんねアムロ。私は宇宙の暮らしって馴染めなくって。
Public displays of affection. So unnatural. Probably didn't just punch the guy.
Oh, well. He's outnumbered.
I mean, so what?
やめろおばさん。拾っちゃダメだ。兵隊に拾ってもらうんだ。
See, I mean, if you're in the mood to fight, what's the line?
あの子は
How much are you gonna make fun of your mom before you start throwing fists?
拾えと言ったんだ。何よこの拾え。
Oh, there you go. He started fighting.
Yeah, he chose a guy wearing a helmet to start punching in the face.
And he got his ass kicked.
Because these are the guys that make me think Zeon is too afraid to fight.
おやめなさい。相手はまだ子供じゃないですか。何を？よくも。お金はこの通りお返ししますから言ってください。
Again, it's the fact that he picked a fight with the people with guns and are still wearing their helmets, not the people who were drunk, unarmed, and without their helmets.
やだね、戦争って。そうか。コミリは死んだのか。娘だけじゃないよ。主人もね。私だけ生き残るなんて因果なもんさ。お母さんにはあったんだろ？いえ。おや、手紙もらってないのかい？ お母さんなら避難民キャンプでボランティアやってるよ。生きてるんですね。
So, myriad of reasons why a letter wouldn't have arrived.
Yeah.
But I also have to suspect, is the military screening all letters?
They have to be. At least anything that reaches the military or leaves the military or is within the military gets censored. But the fact is that they've never been in contact enough for somebody to deliver that letter.
Right, like I said, there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But suspecting the Earth Federation is one of my main ones. See, you go through all the effort of putting, like, green crap all over the white base, but then put out, like, colored umbrellas on the beach.
いや、帰って発見させやすくするだけだ。そうね。敵の本体に連絡されては面倒になる。先手を取って叩き落とす。はい。コアファイター発進準備完了。オッケー。発進路クリア。コアファイター発進。どうぞ。了解。行きます。
They never seem to be ready for the G forces of the catapult. Like,
I mean, to be fair, maybe they just didn't ready for it. I'd rather start from here and be pushed back than to be back here and be. And if only he had a few more Lego bricks, he'd be able to upgrade that thing.
There has to be a Lego Gundam somewhere.
I just mean they look so much like Kingdom Hearts gummy ships. Hey Atto, you got a cousin out here? What's going on?
おい、あれは連邦軍の戦闘機じゃないか。
確かにそうだ。
まずいぞ、これは。
Pretty sure that is somebody's grandpa as much as you might think it's someone's grandma.
It could be that the refugees and don't have a lot. They run out of tea, so that's a consideration.
いやいや、あの山の向こうには敵の前線基地があってな。一日一回見回りに来るんじゃよ。
それでなくてももう敵にキャッチされたかもしれんのじゃ。用事ならその後でもよろしかろうが。
わかりました。アムロなのね。アムロ。母さん。アムロ。
Yeah, I'm not going to ignore what Grandpa over here said, though. Put the whole town at risk for one fleeting emotion.
I met your mother. And, well, I don't know.
Yeah, just say, hey, I'll be right back, Mom. Because, you know, one of those people you'd save by moving the thing would be your mother. Yeah, orphans, Gundam, got it.
すまんがあの戦闘機を。
そうでした。アムロ、早く隠してきなさい。話はそれからにしましょう。
あんたの息子さんかい？
It's just very confusing. They don't know why they have... Why I can't get used to living in space. I'm going to abandon my son to his father. Because I just don't like living in space. It's more important to me than my family. Conversely, take off your fucking jacket. We know you just wear a wife beater under that thing. You would just be a kid. Must be what it's like to have, like, fought the, British Army during the Revolutionary War. Just full of bright colors all over the place.
Yeah.
Get deployed in America. Okay, guys, step one, roll around in the mud. That's hot dog. No, hot dog. I had him on the board for the longest time. I couldn't remember where he was. I think I mentioned it back with Big John that I thought his co-pilot's name was Hot Dog, so I couldn't remember where he was from. You'll figure that the guy that we saw get kneed in the cockpit in Origin was not an ace pilot.
南西方面というくらいしかわかりません。アムロのふるさとの方向か。連絡するか。リュウ、帰還できるか。そりゃ大丈夫だ。しかし、あとはアムロにやらせる。すまん。セーラ、アムロに緊急サインを送るんだ。急げ。はい。よーし、みんなじっとしてろ。そのまま動くな。
I don't think I'd ever be cocky enough, even with a gun, to walk into a room full of people that hate me. All it takes is one person behind you to get the wrong idea.
含まれたもんだな。チョコレートやるよ。
いらないやい。父ちゃんと母ちゃんを返せ。
これ。僕は。
Well, considering that's impossible, how about some chocolate?
Oh, he's a kid.
I mean, unless you took them hostage, and it's like a real, like, give me back my prisoner, mom and dad.
なんだと言ってるんだ。いえ。
私89歳になります。
Have you seen my husband? He's got gray hair and looks just like me.
おい女、そこに寝ているやつは何者だ。
いえね、ただの怪我人なんですよ。ただの。
見せろ。
私の子供です。
We're about to get to a scene here, which has caused me no end of confusion. Backwards blind shot that actually hits the guy. He honestly had just as good a chance of shooting his mom. From that position, can you aim at something? Head covered with a blanket, facing the wrong way, under the arm?
命には別状ない。医者を呼んでくれ。
He was just as likely to shoot anybody in that room.
あの人たちだって子供もあるだろうに。それを鉄砲を向けて撃つなんて。
And here we go with the classic Gundam line. If you kill people, they'll want to kill you.
戦争なんだよ。
そうだけど人様に鉄砲を向けるなんて。
母さんは僕を愛してないの。
The super weird jump he makes there too.
子供を愛さない母親がいるもの。
I don't know. I think it's like because he was in danger. Everybody's in danger. He's like, oh well, you shouldn't point guns at people. It's like, yeah, these people are gonna capture me or kill me. But sure, it's wrong to put guns at people.
It's the case of, I think she's taking, we don't know how this could have played out, but we know how it did play out. But
Also remember that
he didn't say, you don't care what happens to me, as like a question. He jumps right to, you don't love me? Which is the end point of the conversation. You skipped the whole middle.
Also remember that she chose to stay on Earth while he went with his father.
Oh, that thing that I said before about how weird that was, that you chose being uncomfortable in space over your family.
Yeah.
I know episode after next, I have a notes section all about the oddity of how horrible a person his dad must have been. For one, to take his son away from his mother, but also for her not to want to go with him. Wouldn't be a Gundam episode if we didn't clip the wings into things. Wings and Things, that's the name of my Gundam-themed restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes, literally when you landed, they told you. They come once a day. They even warned you about this. Ah, classic Zeon landing maneuver.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, let's pilot the DOP gangsta style.
I guess they did. This kind of doesn't make sense because the Gunberry is not armed or anything. This base is full of fighters and anti-aircraft guns. Oh, we're just gonna casually fly there and deliver this because reasons. Much easier for him to fly back to To the white base.
Not arguing. I thought you were going to say how stupid the mid-air transfer thing was.
Yeah, but it's a 1970s mecha show, so it, you know.
Which is
Yeah, 'cause
really
he was a
annoying
little
because we
kid.
live out in the country and there's lots of flies here.
Yeah.
We'd have to buy so much fly paper if you just kill some flies.
5、4、3、2、1ガンダム B パース投下コアチェンジドッキングゴー
So we're not going to mention the fact that the legs flew up to you.
Yeah.
Feels like we have homing devices in the parts.
シンクロしてないのに
See, now they're shooting at him. That feels like a mini game, right? Like something you would play in a video game. You want to connect this? Synchronize the buttons.
Well, I'll say this probably works a lot better in space. But in an atmosphere and a gravity well, don't do it. I guess that was fuel storage.
何をしているんだ
敵の基地をやっつけているんでしょ
あんな地方の前進基地を叩く必要がどこにあるか回も回だテストもしていないのに敵前でガンダムをドッキングさせたりして単なる消耗戦なぞ
Yeah, they also like never introduced the concept of mid-air docking before. Just Ty's like, let's do a thing. And the previous conversation of how low on ammunition they are. It does kind of feel like a waste.
Here's your doll.
It's a puppet without strings. It's got to be metaphorical.
So
いや事実です。今日の彼の活躍も目覚ましいものでした。
まあ、そうですか。
アムロ君、どうするね。我々は出発するが。はい。
Bright is giving him a chance to just leave with his mother?
Well, you know, despite everything that Bright might think, he's also like upping Amuro in front of his mom. Even though his mom clearly is like the opposite of what his mother would want to hear.
I so want to be, you be my mother-in-law.
Now I was thinking about the opposite way. Because Frau had to witness her mother dying and everything like that, so it's to like the orphan kids from before that are like, it must be nice that she had to leave her dead mother behind, whereas Amuro is just walking away from his. It's got to have some sort of psychological impact. Not of Amuro's fault, but I guess technically a little bit.
It's very interesting that this would look like a glorious shot of the ship moving to the sunset, but the fact that she's crying, it's like, oh, damn. And she's back.
弾薬が少ないのはホワイトベースだけではなかった。クアラン総長のガンダム強襲作戦はアムロたちを恐怖させるのに十分であった。彼らは勇敢にガンダムに迫る。アムロはこれを突破できるのか。機動戦士ガンダム。次回時間よ止まれ。君は生き延びることができるか。
No, in response to your comment about it looking like a glorious shot, I think that's the purpose of it, because it follows on Bright saying how good of a fighter Amuro is, how he saved their butts so many times. He's upping Amuro to his mother in the way that he thinks Amuro would like to hear, not understanding that the mother is not a pacifist. I don't say not a pacifist, but we don't get any sense of that. It's just she doesn't like the fighting. And he didn't understand that, so bright is the white-based side of the shot.
Mhm.
You know, the glorification of war, because that's what he kind of just did to Amuro's mother. And then her not changing. Like, she's still where she was. You know the whole metaphor thing where I said it's not always about that?
Yeah.
Well, you made it there, and I was like, okay, well, I can follow through on this. That's what it feels like, anyway.
Even the ending song says you must hide your tears and look forward forever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, well, same way that the beginning song sounds happy, but the lyrics are rage on, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot to break down there, but the impetus of the episode to me is firing backwards with your head facing the opposite way and covered when your mother is right there, plus a bunch of kids and elderly people to possibly shoot the guy. By the way, you don't even know he's pointing a gun at you. All you can do is hear a voice. A voice that has, like, not passion, but, you know, a strength behind it that, like, something might be going on. But again, head covered, looking the opposite direction, blind shot. It's a crazy-ass thing to do. If I did that in, like, an RPG, right, if I was playing a game, like, you're purposely keeping information from me, because, again, head covered, looking the other way, and I just, like, open fire, I'd assume everyone would be pissed that I just started a fight with no reason.
Yeah.
Then again...
And the other guy did it, and the other guy ran away, even though he had a rifle. He's like, oh, damn, you know, man.
Well,
run away.
You don't know what's going on. The next thing to happen could be a bunch of these beds pop up, and they're all, you know...
Yeah.
You don't want to be caught in the middle of that.
Or a guerrilla attack, yeah.
Well, literally what I was saying, when the two walk in the room, I don't think even with a gun I'd walk into a room full of people that hate me, because, one, all of a sudden my retreats or my exits are reduced to one or a window or something like that, right? And all it takes is one person to get it behind me, bam, over the back of the head, and suddenly I am out of it. So yeah, being that guy, even if his plan wasn't to run away completely, running out of the room, then turning around, boom, they can only come out one way, unless you're jumping out the windows, in which case, I mean, I still got a good shot. It's just the best play in my book. I'm not going to blame that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'll blame him for not being that good of a pilot, because he doesn't do anything. Also, one number on the long list of Xeon pilots that don't eject. I mean,
even when they get damaged.
Yeah, at the point where you're like, whoa, maybe it's like, oh, pull the thing, you know?
I mean, does any Xeon equipment come up with ejection seats? That might be a thing. I mean, I've seen these guys running around without even, you know, flying planes without even straps on. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and to be fair, Earth Federation, at least in the core fighter, has the straps to be bouncing around. But, yeah. I mean, when your whole point is that we have less people and less resources than the Earth Federation does, maybe, like, keep them protected?
I mean, they went with the cheapest suit as well, so...
Yeah, that doesn't bode very well.
The only reason why they got away with that is because the other side didn't, had even cheaper suits. Yeah.
So I distracted myself for a second. I thought I had a sticker of that one scene that are almost bouncing back and forth against the things, but I guess I replaced that with the stick one where he loses all control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, this is a very important episode. It's just that I'm emotionally dead inside and don't understand people, so I have a hard time, like, cutting together with, like, again, Mom, you don't love me anymore? It's like, wait, what? Like,
I mean, again, it's what happens in when you have a fight with somebody, you don't really coherent. You just go with whatever thought it's in your head.
You don't jump to the last thing, though. The last thing is you don't love me anymore.
Come on, it happens all the time.
It's schoolyard rules. You got to get through the first couple of dog dares before you get to the triple dog dare you. That's just
but this is him fighting his mom. Like, Mom's like, oh, why did you do that? You know, you shouldn't point guns at people. And he's like, bitch, this is a fucking war. You're in a refugee camp because these motherfuckers have bombed the planet. What the fuck's wrong with you? Right?
See, that's a middle step. You just took a middle step. See? Even you didn't jump to right. Even your example, we were trying to say this is all right. You couldn't get there. You don't jump right there. He had a... Well, see, my whole argument would be, the first thing would be, he had a gun pointed at me, but he doesn't fucking know that. He's head under a blanket looking the other way. He has no idea how much danger he's in. He only barely knows there's only 2 guys in the room. He doesn't even know if more people have walked in since then. He could be shooting one guy, and there's like 17 people in the room. Well, Amuro, fucked, I guess. I don't know. It's just very weird to me that, again, like I said, I'm not good with the emotional scenes unless they're like banging you over the head with it, in which case that's when it starts sinking in for me. So just jumping right to, you don't love me anymore? I have to feel like, this is just off the cuff here, maybe that's something he's been thinking for a long time, and not just coming from this. Like, he was a happy kid in that little flashback where she kisses him like 70 times in a row on the cheek. Weird that one too, but like not even a hug, just like she's one of those little birds with a water thing. But yeah, like at some point, like she doesn't show up anymore, and maybe he's not communicating with her anymore either. And this is just, he wants to say, but I was in danger, or I had to protect myself, and that inner thought that's been going through his head all this time. But Mom, I had to protect myself. You don't love me anymore?
I mean, also remember how we got here, right? His relationship with his father wasn't, you use the term latchkey kid, right? His relationship with his father wasn't the best. His father already was standoffish. Remember how he talks like, well, we're going to go to space. I don't want him to miss space. Yeah, my marriage, who cares about my marriage? You don't want to come with me? Screw that. I got a job to do, right? And I'm going to take him with me. So he had no choice in that, right? So they're separated at least, if not divorced.
To be fair,
so he goes.
I think he was better off with Tem. What would happen to him if he stayed on Earth?
He would be dead, probably.
Well, not even that. I mean, he would have been like, I don't know, not like one of those orphans, because they at least kicked as a young guy and made a book for it. But with constantly around the mother telling him not to get into fights, he would have been like destitute out here instead of learning. So he probably wouldn't have been that good with technical stuff. He might have turned out more like Sayla and like maybe medical if he helped his mother, but I don't really know what his mother was doing, because that little pot thing looks like what you use to clear out someone's ears from earwax. Yeah. So, all these refugees that are hurting, and she's around, oh, your ears need a bit cleaning.
The thing is, clearly they're being separated for years, right? He's in space with his dad. His dad is doing whatever, so he's left on his own. I think separately he has separation anxiety, and he also has feelings of abandonment, right? His father, the moment he says, "Oh, Dad, you're here," whatever, it's like, "Oh, that's my son," and then he gets in the Gundam, and father disappears too. We know what happened to him.
Yeah, so can't blame him for that time. That time was literally off of his feet.
Yeah,
but
so it's like
literally, Tem takes him to the location that has actual education, and actually a safe environment up until that last moment. And is actively being guarded by Earth Federation people who don't like get drunk and stay in your house all the time.
Yeah,
apparently.
Also, it said that these soldiers were like that because they were abandoned by the rest of the armed forces. So these are basically, well, they're defectors. Basically, they're
not defectors because they are staying here, even though there is a nearby Zeon base that patrols every day. So presumably they're doing something, because if they were real defectors, they would be fucked off from here too. But the idea is still, these were the guys that are around. If this is like one of those post-apocalypse movies where you see the guys before the apocalypse, like, oh, we're all friendly people here, and then the apocalypse happens, and these are the guys kicking your door down to steal the food in your house before they kick out of town, right?
Yeah, well, okay. Let me put it this way: there's a tradition, especially in many wars, where you have a lot of conflict and you have these soldiers that are sort of left behind, especially in Japan, the Ronin, right? That you had these wars, their masters were Their masters. No, let me finish. Their masters were either killed.
I can laugh while you're talking.
They were killed, and they were now masterless, and they became bandits. So these guys are more like, yeah, we used to be members of the military, but now we have no bosses, nobody. We just left behind when they retreated. So we only have our guns and whatever we can take, right? Because they're breaking into homes, they're looting, they're looters, right? They're looters. Because if they were any effective, they would like a front line. With, oh, these guys are patrolling. We're not going to allow them to patrol our area, right? They're like, yeah.
I don't know. Again, this is a thing. And by a thing, I mean it's more complicated than the sum of its parts, or just what we see on screen, so that I'm not going to have like any meaningful toss in. I don't have any like cute little metaphors to bring up, or 900-year-old 900-year-old history to bring up.
I think also the fact is, again, war, they want to hammer the point that war is hell, and the Federation in many ways is as bad as the Seons, right? Because what the Seon goes like, oh, I have chocolate for you. It's like, oh, bring me my dad back. Oh, okay, you don't get any chocolate. Like, dude, he just accused you of killing his parents.
He offers the chocolate again after that.
Yeah.
Which is, again, maybe if your parents are like prisoners of war, maybe you have a point, give me my parents back. Otherwise, you're like, you could make a point in front of all the old people or have chocolate, which you could then use to negotiate with the other kids. Because obviously this is chocolate that's not melting, by the way, so it has to be like wartime chocolate. So, I don't know.
I thought of his rations, yeah.
I'd rather have the rations to be able to barter with than making a statement that I know is impossible and can't be done.
But again, it's a little kid, right? Who sees them as the bad guys.
Yeah, it's a little kid. He should want the chocolate. This is probably a little kid who's been eating out of the trash, I'm assuming. Because, you know, they're like orphan refugee kids. I don't know where the woman's picking her apples from.
And they must still be, you know, I don't know, they vaporize every apple tree out there.
Right. I mean, we've seen the flyover, and it wasn't like a farm. Didn't seem like an orchard or anything.
There were forests out there, so that may be wild apples.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know how Japan is with like wild apple trees, or I don't.
There's probably somewhere else in the Americas, I think, or we don't, or no, actually Asia. But we don't exactly know where they are right now.
Appleseed over here, so I
don't know how that happened. They said that last time I said they were going anywhere. They're crossing the Pacific, but are they?
I had a whole note written about that specifically. The problem is that I couldn't even figure out what the hell I was saying in my own transcript, so I just left it out. The idea that they had their refugees, then they let some refugees off at Lake Mead, around Lake Mead somewhere. They get the notice from Earth Federation HQ that they need to go pick up new refugees, which is what they're on the course to do towards the Pacific, which is why they're not heading in the right direction to Earth Federation HQ, which is in Venezuela, the opposite direction. But they also land in a desert, let a bunch of refugees go run loose. And that's where my note section goes crazy, because I just bring up how the 3 kids are watching a bunch of old people getting gunned down. So it's like, let me just skip this part. But to your point, that they're heading over the Pacific, that's the reason why they're heading in the wrong direction. Because the Earth Federation told them to. Also in the another flip scene of Sayla getting orders and then Bright just snatching him out of her hand. Yeah, no, again, this is an episode that has high emotional level. I know it got a lot of response back when me and Griffin watched it on that the mother scene at the end, but I'm obviously pro-war, which is not a great place to be in a Gundam show. I mean, I'm not like pro-war in general, I just mean in the terms of the show, because we're obviously going towards extremes in the show. We can't let one side win over the other. Well, I mean, Zeon's fucking gassing people and dropping colony bombs. Bombs, you know what I mean? And Earth Federation, when they're in control, they're literally gunning people down in the streets for protesting. It's not a good time for either side, but, better to be fighting than not.
Yes.
I've already said, sorry, you fucked his name up so much in the beginning that I can't remember it. Gob?
Rebel? Gob?
Gibble?
Yeah, Gob. Gob.
Gob.
Yeah, I know
Gob.
you're talking. Gob.
Sorry,
yeah.
I had B's in my name. Gob.
Yeah.
Gob.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, Gob with his infinite war thing. I've already said he's an asshole for that kind of shit, but and Rebel 2 for kind of like aiding it, but obviously Infinite War, not the best thing, but obviously neither side is good, and I don't want either side to win. Obviously, I kind of do want one side to win, only for obvious reasons. I'm pointing in the overlay. Obviously, this gesture means nothing to you. But I'm pointing at my own head, so I have to assume that you think Earth Federation would be better to win, because you've made your choice as well.
Yeah, but I also think that the Federation definitely needs to be radically reformed, or maybe brought down from the inside and then reform into something else. Because without it, you're gonna go back in the same thing over and over again, right? They're gonna start ignoring / abusing people. The abused people rebel, but then they realize that they are underpowered, so they're going to try to knock out the Federation in one blow, kill millions and not billions of people, which then gives the other people like, well, you're mass murdering sons of bitches, so I guess we can't have to keep on fighting, and we end up in the same situation over and over again.
I guess, I mean, I have to also put out there that I understand that there's no way that Zeon could win and still be the good guys. And I mean that, like, not in the case of what have we done already. I mean in the case of best case scenario, we kill the entire zombie family, but we're still a fascist state, and anybody who takes up the role of leader in the fascist kind of state is going to be corrupted by that power, or if not already, be corrupt by the desire for that power. So there's no way to continue the Principality of Zeon in its current leadership format. So I guess the only way that I would agree for the Space Noids to come out of this victorious would be the realization of that freedom that I guess kind of Zeon himself was going for, but he was kind of a bit racist in it. So I don't know, just maybe some like hegemony of sides, like I'm trying to think, independent nation states sort of deal, like Greece back in
city states,
Athens, Sparta, that kind of age.
Yeah,
maybe just get rid of this. Zeon's already Sparta, so just get rid of the Spartan element.
I mean, you would also have to no, Zeon's going to survive because you have the whole space noids, earth noids kind of thinking. You have to change that kind of thinking. Otherwise, again, even if the Federation were like, oh no, we're gonna treat you with equality, but if you think you're being treated equal by your inferiors, that's gonna feel like oppression. I guess the
problem here is that there's a comparison to be made that I can't avoid making between two shows. So obviously I can't make it because it would be a spoiler for you, ironically. But there's the element here that space noids are not superior, in that there's nothing about them. Like, it would be different if they were like genetic supermen or something like that, you know? Something that space had given them. Here's the thing. There's a kid from Earth who gets it. I know this.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I know.
Obviously it doesn't apply then. Unless just being in space for a little bit. You know, the Fantastic Four of the species. Anybody who's in space for a little while can get the thing.
I mean, final argument is that, and it's both to the credit of the show, but also a flaw of it, that they introduce these ideas, which are like, oh, that makes sense why these people are in conflict. But then, and this is the part where, oh, everybody's bad because war is bad, kind of fails. Because it's the idea that also in a lot of video games where they want to be, you know, the designers want to be mature, right? And they want to, oh, this is a video game, it's an art. We're not going to write the good guys as being squeaky clean and the bad guys being horrible. Everybody is bad in this situation. You're like, yeah, but you can still make at least some moral statements. In fact, in the introduction of the episodes, they're saying, no, how the Federation is going to save itself from the tyranny of Zeon, right? So they're already, even when they show you a couple of soldiers of Federation being complete jackasses and, you know, beating up people and stealing their stuff, right? Looters, they're like, yeah, but, you know, a Federation has to save itself from the clear dictatorship of Zeon. So, you know, hint, right?
I mean, to be fair, if this little microcosm of people that we have here, the Earth Federation is fucking up this town more than the Zeon people, who only come around once a day and give us chocolate.
which is what would you do if you're an occupation force? Because antagonizing the people makes it the occupation harder. So again, there's a difference between something being complex and then making it deliberately mushy so you don't have to make a moral stance, right? Like, oh, slavery. Well, everybody practices slavery, so slavery it's bad, but not that bad. Everybody's doing it.
Again, that's the evil of economics versus the evil of morality. You have the Quakers who are obviously standing up to slavery during the era of slavery, but most people that own slaves, it's a matter of economics over morality. I can't lose my economic position in this environment to your moral argument. People are people, is what I'm saying. But people do a lot of evil shit for money. And we are all human, and humans are pretty bad when you get down to it.
I'm a more of a Rousseau than that, but yeah. Rousseau.
Yeah, no, I know the name. See, you got to admit by now that I've got a shit memory. I think my problem is that I might be thinking of a similar name and not who you're talking about. So why don't you elaborate for one last point? I'm not going to cover
Hobbes.
you.
Yeah, no, it's Rousseau versus Hobbes, basically. Rousseau basically believed that people were inherently good. Hobbes believed, especially in his work Leviathan, that people were bestial and primitive, at least most people. And so they needed the strong hand of order, specifically the order of aristocracy, to keep them in the line. Yeah.
Is he on his order? No, I'm more along the line that it's human nature to be self-serving. If you want to make yourself prosperous before you handle anyone else's shit. Because if you aren't able to live a good life, then you're not going to be able to help others. I have to make enough money to eat too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have to worry about my prosperity versus the prosperity of other people. I'm doing altruistic tasks in order to make sure that I have my hierarchy of needs met. That's just the reality. That's human nature. Anyway, I've been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stone-Faced Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video and what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?